I am about to show you 5 behaviors that, if you continue them, may quietly prevent you from building genuine financial stability over the next 90 days, and you have probably done at least one of them this week without noticing. This is not about dramatic income changes. It is not about extreme frugality. It is about structure. If your structure is loose, 3 months pass and very little changes. If your structure is deliberate, 90 days can feel materially different. Consider how this usually unfolds. You decide that this quarter will be the one where you get organized. You open a spreadsheet. You download an app. You watch a few videos. Then work intensifies, life becomes busy, and the plan dissolves into intention. That is rarely a motivation problem. It is often a system problem. Over the years, I have noticed something consistent. People who feel calm about money are not usually thinking about money all the time. They tend to have built systems that reduce the number of decisions they need to make under pressure. There was a period where I believed that understanding finance was enough. I read extensively. I understood the mechanics of investing. However, my financial life still felt reactive because I had not built a stable operating system. I had knowledge without infrastructure. Perhaps this feels familiar. You understand what you should do, yet you postpone implementation. Your income is reasonable, yet your financial life feels improvised. Nothing dramatic is wrong, yet there is tension beneath the surface. Think of financial stability as an operating system. If the operating system is unstable, every small disruption feels amplified. If it is stable, fluctuations are absorbed quietly. Later, I will explain the most overlooked stabilizer, which many disciplined people still neglect. Let us begin with the first behavior. The first behavior that blocks financial stability is operating without a defined baseline. A defined baseline means you know precisely what it costs to maintain stability, separate from aspiration. Without that clarity, uncertainty becomes constant background noise. This often appears in subtle ways. You cannot state your essential monthly costs without reviewing statements. Core expenses are blended with lifestyle upgrades. You describe yourself as comfortable, yet you cannot quantify what comfortable actually requires. The cost of this ambiguity is rarely dramatic, but it is persistent. It can create low-grade anxiety. It can distort spending decisions. It can make every unexpected expense feel threatening rather than manageable. If you want to stabilize this over the next 90 days, you could take 5 steps. First, calculate your essential monthly stability number. Exclude discretionary upgrades. Second, separate that figure visually from lifestyle spending so the distinction is obvious. Third, build or maintain a buffer covering several months of that baseline. Fourth, automate essential payments so stability does not depend on mood or memory. Fifth, review this baseline quarterly to ensure it reflects current reality. Within a month, clarity alone often reduces pressure. Over 2 to 3 months, defined structure begins to feel grounding. The second behavior is reacting instead of pre-committing. Reacting means making financial decisions in response to how you feel rather than according to rules defined in advance. This might look like saving only when the month feels easy, adjusting investments because headlines feel alarming, delaying contributions because something else feels urgent. In these moments, direction is negotiated under emotion. Behavioral research consistently shows that decisions made under uncertainty tend to fluctuate. That is not weakness. It is how human cognition operates. The cost of constant reaction is inconsistency. Compounding is disrupted. Progress feels accidental rather than intentional. To shift this within 90 days, you could try 5 actions. First, decide in advance what percentage of income will be saved or invested. Second, automate that percentage so it occurs without deliberation. Third, define specific conditions under which adjustments are allowed, such as income changes rather than temporary stress. Fourth, schedule fixed financial review times instead of checking impulsively. Fifth, write down your reasoning so future you does not renegotiate emotionally. Within weeks, reactivity tends to reduce. Over 3 months, Consistency often produces visible progress. The third behavior is ignoring liquidity while focusing on growth. Growth attracts attention. Returns are compelling. However, liquidity often determines how calm you feel. Liquidity means accessible funds without penalty. This imbalance appears when investments are aggressive but cash reserves are minimal. When credit is relied upon for disruption. When steady income is assumed to remove the need for buffers. The hidden cost is fragility. Stress increases during short-term disruptions. Decisions become constrained under pressure. Even historically disciplined investors prioritize liquidity as foundational. It is rarely exciting. It is stabilizing. To strengthen this over 90 days, consider 5 steps. First, define a liquidity target aligned with your baseline. Second, build towards it steadily rather than waiting for a large surplus. Third, keep liquidity separate from daily spending accounts. Fourth, avoid directing all surplus to investment before liquidity is secure. Fifth, review liquidity levels quarterly. Within months, disruptions often feel manageable rather than destabilizing. The fourth behavior is expanding commitments faster than capacity. This usually happens gradually. Income rises, so recurring costs rise with it. Obligations increase without equal increases in savings. Energy and schedule stretch alongside finances. Commitments grow faster than cushion. The result is reduced breathing room. Normal fluctuations feel heavier. There is a subtle sense of always catching up. To stabilize this, you could take 5 steps. First, evaluate new commitments against your baseline rather than gross income. Second, apply a delay rule before agreeing to major recurring expenses. Third, ensure savings and buffers increase alongside commitments. Fourth, stress test commitments by imagining a temporary income dip. Fifth, favor optional commitments over fixed ones where possible. Over a few months, obligations often feel chosen rather than imposed. Now we come to the most overlooked stabilizer. Behavioral identity alignment. Behavioral identity alignment means your daily actions reflect the financially stable person you intend to become. For example, you may say you value stability, yet you avoid reviewing numbers. You may say you prioritize discipline, yet renegotiate commitments monthly. You may desire calm, yet consume constant financial noise. Misalignment weakens self-trust. It creates internal friction. Progress feels accidental. Psychological research suggests behavior often follows identity. When identity is undefined, behavior fluctuates. To align identity within 90 days, you could take 5 actions. First, write a concise description of the financially stable version of yourself. Second, define 3 weekly behaviors that person consistently performs. Third, track those behaviors rather than obsessing over short-term outcomes. Fourth, reduce exposure to environments that contradict that identity. Fifth, review actions weekly and adjust intentionally rather than reactively. Within weeks, self-trust strengthens. Over 90 days, repetition begins to feel natural. Instead of asking how to transform your finances dramatically in 3 months, ask how to stabilize your operating system. Define your baseline. Pre-commit your rules. Strengthen liquidity. Align commitments with capacity. Upgrade identity through behavior. Stability tends to emerge from repetition rather than intensity. Let us recap clearly. Instability may persist because your baseline is undefined. You may be reacting instead of pre-committing. You may be prioritizing growth over liquidity. Commitments may exceed cushion. Identity may not align with intention. None of this requires extreme measures. It requires structure. You are the sort of person who understands that systems reduce anxiety more reliably than motivation does. If this was useful, comment calm system. It reinforces orientation. In the next video, we can design a simple weekly financial review structure that takes less than 30 minutes but strengthens all 5 stabilizers. Subscribe if that would be helpful. I will see you there.